I'm not sure where to begin, and maybe there's no way to justify what I did, but perhaps someone will understand. My husband, James, is a good man. He's reliable, steady, and devoted. He's the kind of guy who would give you the shirt off his back. However, as time went on, our marriage started to feel uninspired. I began to feel like I was going through the motions of daily life with someone who hardly noticed me. Then there was James's best friend, Ethan. Ethan had qualities that James lacked: charm, spontaneity, and confidence. He had always been part of our lives, even before James and I started dating. But over time, Ethan's jokes began to feel more aimed at me, and his warm smiles lingered a little longer than they used to. At first, I convinced myself it was harmless. A little flirtation couldn't hurt, could it? But as we spent more time together, I realized Ethan seemed to look at me differently than James did. It started with texts, brief chats about hobbies or work, and then the tone changed. We both pushed the boundaries. After a dinner at our house one evening, Ethan stayed behind to help me clean up while James went to bed early. As we stood in the kitchen, doing the dishes, Ethan whispered, "You deserve to feel wanted," as he gently brushed a lock of hair from my face. Before I knew it, we shared a kiss. My heart raced, and I couldn't quite process what had happened. After that night, things weren't the same. Ethan and I began making excuses to meet up, each time more exciting but also more guilt-ridden. Every time I looked at James, I felt like a fraud. He trusted me, and I was betraying him in the worst possible way. But I didn't end it. Even though I promised myself I would, I couldn't. Then one Sunday afternoon, everything fell apart. James was working in the garage when Ethan came over to drop something off. We ended up on the couch, laughing and chatting, like nothing had changed. But this time, Ethan leaned in, brushed my hand, and kissed me. This kiss was different. It wasn't hidden in shadows or behind closed doors. It happened right there, in the middle of the living room, during the day. I should have stopped it, but I didn't. I was startled when I heard the front door open. James walked in, a look of shock on his face. He froze. His voice trembling, he shouted, "What the hell is going on here?" I jumped up from the couch, trying to move away from Ethan. Ethan tried to explain, but James didn't believe him. I could see the truth hit him like a ton of bricks as his eyes bounced between us. James's voice was low and steady when he said, "Don't say a word." He slammed the door behind him and left. I followed him, but he wouldn't stop. My heart pounded as I stood in the driveway, watching him get into his car and drive away. I couldn't even look at Ethan as he tried to comfort me. I told him to leave. The hours that followed felt endless. James didn't come home that night, and when he did the next morning, he was pale, his eyes red. He didn't yell or accuse me. Instead, he handed me a suitcase. His voice was barely a whisper as he said, "Go." I can't even look at you. What could I say? I wanted to apologize, to explain, to beg for another chance. But I had ruined it all. I know I'm not alone in this, which is why I'm sharing my story. If you've ever hurt someone you love, you know the weight of the guilt I'm carrying. Now, I don't know what to do. Please, if you can offer advice, I'm lost.